Good morning and welcome back to River Mountain Homestead. It is Wednesday, I think. Yes, Wednesday. Baby chickens in the incubator go on lockdown tonight, and they'll be hatching here in the next couple of days, and hopefully we'll get a decent little batch of silkies out of those guys. We have got some exciting things happening around here. I've kind of been working behind the scenes on our next big scheme, and I've been working diligently and making plans and placing orders, and yeah, but what is it? So we've been doing a lot of talking, a lot of thinking, and yeah, it never ends with us. But we're tired of this travel trailer. We can't really do the house yet. Lumber prices are way too high. And we've looked at a multitude of options. We've looked at buying an old house and hauling it in. We've looked at different metal buildings. We've looked at different pole barns. We've looked at every option and scenario that we can come up with to weigh out to try to come up with a way to get out of this travel trailer and get into something more home-like. And the best decision that we've came up with is going to be to build my shop and move in it. So that's what I'm starting on today. There's an area here in front of the travel trailer that we had leveled out. That was the plan for the shop in the future. And what I'm going to be building is basically a pole barn shop, but it'll be fully insulated and all of that. I actually skimped down on the size just a little bit. Originally, I was going to build a 30 by 40, and we ended up going with a square 32 by 32. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000, 1,100 square foot, something like that. And we can utilize this as our living space while we're waiting on this market to bust. But that will enable us to get out of this travel trailer and into something with a concrete floor and a little bit more home-like atmosphere. I'll go ahead and hang sheetrock or whatever we decide to cover the walls inside. So I've been working on getting material lists together and getting some equipment rented and all that kind of craziness. So with all that being said, today the first thing I've got to do is remove some of the dog's yard. They have this little fenced off area over here in front of the house, and that is actually where the shop is going. And that's the only thing I've got to move at this time. I've got a piece of equipment rented for next Saturday because we've got plans this weekend, and that will give me the opportunity to get everything laid out as far as the septic and getting the electrical run, getting the plumbing run, and getting everything stubbed up where it needs to be. I'm going to attempt to begin with by digging these 16 holes by hand, and we know how rocky it is around here. I may end up having to try to find another source to auger these holes out with. I don't think a standard tractor and auger is going to touch this sandstone. All I need is a good connection to a buddy at the electric place, because they've got that big truck that comes around and drills the holes for the power poles. If I could get him to back up in here for about 15 minutes and punch all the holes that I have marked out, that would be phenomenal. So if anybody knows my Logan County local guy that drives that truck, send him my way. But more than likely you don't. So I'm going to attempt to start these holes by hand. I don't know how that's going to go. I figure somewhere in the neighborhood of an inch per hour, but we'll just have to see. But today I'm going to work on getting this fence out of the way and getting it repositioned so that they still have a little bit of a yard to utilize. And then I got to start dragging out some tapes and getting my corners laid out and getting this thing squared up exactly where it's going to be, so that I can start marking those holes and start attempting to dig on those holes. And then I've got to make sure I cover them with something so Eve don't fall in my holes until all my 6x6s arrive. That was one thing I had to force myself to do, was pay a ridiculous price for 6x6s. I've got plans to buy the green lumber, and I'll use it on the exterior side Even though it will still be within the wall cavity, I won't use that on the inside. I will use some dry material for the inside that the drywall and everything's hanging on. And hopefully my shrinkage is minimal on this green lumber and it doesn't distort the tin. I think it's going to be okay though. I ordered trusses yesterday, and we're not even going to talk about what that cost. That was ridiculous as well, but that's the price you pay to build. But watching the market, watching the stock market right now, lumber futures are almost at $1,500 a board foot, which is another third higher than what it was before the last huge price increase. So the way I'm looking at it is there's fixing to be another large increase in the price of lumber. That's just my guess. I don't know. Just watching the futures, that's what it's predicting and that's what it's saying. And it's just a matter of time before it reaches that point. So I wanted to go ahead and take this bite and move forward. That way we have a little bit better living situation than what we've currently got. It's never good enough, but it's time for us to take a step in the right direction and get out of this travel trailer. So now I'm gonna go over here and start moving some fence. All of this fence right here is gonna have to go away for now, and then there's just gonna have this small area right here to utilize. And then once I get all my plumbing done over here on this side, because I'll have to dig in on this back side to bring my septic in, then I can run their yard out that way and give them a little bit more room. But for now, temporarily, it's just gonna go away and they're just gonna have to live with what they got. What are you two clowns doing? What are you two clowns doing? Hi, Miss B. Oh, sweet girl. Is that your new BFF? Or is she kind of annoying? She not your buddy, Miss B? It's like having a little Klingon. Eve, that's not nice. You pulling out your grandma's hair? I learned this little trick once upon a time. Let's see if it still works. As long as you got your T-post driver, you can also pull them with it. Maybe these little guys won't be too mad at me, but their yard definitely shrank a little bit. Y'all don't get that much exercise anyway. It's okay, baby girl. Come check it out. Come here. Come here. Come check it out. It's okay. Come here. You got a smaller yard now. What do you think? They're gonna be okay for a little while. Hi, Miss Eve. They're gonna work for you, old man? Alright, now then, I've got a place to work without a fence. So step one is done. Create a flat, level spot clear of obstructions. Check. So I've got everything kind of laid out here. I've got them roughed in on the corners. I'm going to spend a little bit of time and get this all squared up. Probably drive some T-post on the corner for some makeshift batter boards or whatever, just to run some strings on. And then when I get all my strings run, I can mark exactly where every hole needs to be. I got that order placed this morning. My post should be here on Tuesday. And I'm sure I probably won't, but I would love to have all these holes dug by Tuesday. When they get here, I can just start standing them up and rock and roll. They said they could get my rafters to me. He said as early as next week. I told him it would probably be 2 weeks to 3 weeks before I needed them. That way they're not just sitting out in the weather. So he'll pretty much be able to have those done, and as soon as I call, they can get them over this way. If all goes well, I might be able to have this thing framed up within a month. Time will tell. I may spend a month. Thanks, Floki. I may spend a month just trying to dig these holes. But I'll start on them and see what kind of life I end up with. If anything, I might be able to get the hammer attachment with the Mini X when I rent it next weekend if I have to. And then I can run that hammer in my holes and chisel out the rock. That's kind of my plan. We'll just have to see if that's a needed option. I'm sure that it probably won't hurt. I hate rock. If I ever told anybody I hated rock, I'm thankful for it, but I hate it. But I'm going to go over here and start stretching the tape and dropping some corners and see if I can get this thing squared up. If I can, I may try to make my run this afternoon and go hit up my lumberman. He does have some 2x12s that I'll end up using for my headers around the top. And I need to get another load of 2x4s from him because I'll be ladding the walls every 2 foot. You'll figure out what all that is when I get to it, but I need another 150 or so 2x, and I don't know how many I've got it wrote down in there on my list for. I'll do a double 2x12 header around the top, and then I've got my rafters spaced exactly 32 foot, so I'll have 0 overhang. That way I can just trim out around the edge and it'll go metal to metal, and I'm not messing with dressing up eaves and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, sorry if I'm speaking lingo for some of y'all, but hopefully everything goes smooth and goes easy. The only 2 things that I'm really going to need help with are going to be hanging the rafters and pouring the concrete. So if everybody just wants to get in line and starts volunteering for that, that'll be fine. We'll make a list. That's what I thought. Silence. Did everybody else hear the crickets? Yeah, I heard crickets. I'm going to have to recruit some help. I'll find some. Between the rafters and concrete should be about it. So other than that, I should be able to pretty much handle it by myself. Yeah. But I can't do anything if I'm standing here talking. I gotta go get this thing laid out. Alright, since I'm doing this solo, I stopped and did a little bit of math on a diagonal of a rectangle Pythagorean, yeah, I can't say it, yeah. Pythagorean theory. That's close. But basically, to find my square, ran through some numbers on a calculator to get what my length should be on the diagonal. So now that I've got actually 3 points somewhat determined, I'll run off a 2 and then I'll find my third by the length of what this should be. And a 32 by 32, your angle should be, I think it was 45 1/4. Yeah, I had to go back and find my number, but the angle should be 45 foot and 4 inches is what it should be from angle to angle and angle to angle, and that way I know I've got a perfect square. So working by myself, I'll be able to run off of my southeast corner going to the northwest corner and find that 45.4 angle there, and that will be my third point. And then I can work off of these other two to find my last point, and then I'll double check everything and it should be a 32 square. Make perfect sense for everybody? No? Me either. Okay, let's get busy. Now then, if y'all will remember last summer when I wired in that 400 amp service panel over there, I went ahead and ran the additional wire I had to the shop placement, which is this guy right here, and it's buried underground to this pole right here. So all I've got to do is go the additional 30 feet from here right into the corner of the wall right there, and that's where I'll come up with my service panel. So 3 sticks of conduit right there and a little 90, and I'll have power inside that wall in no time. It'll be real simple. Like I say, it's right here, it's ready to go. And while I've got the Mini X here digging for my plumbing, I'll go ahead and route this guy down through there as well. And if anybody remembers me putting in this other shutoff valve right here before you get to the house, then I will tie into this water line here right before that shutoff valve. That way it's on this side, and make its quick little trip right around to the back side of the camper here. And then the septic line right here coming from the travel trailer currently is buried right along through there, and that's where we'll intercept, probably right in here. We'll intercept that sewer line, and then we'll drop the water and the sewer both in the same line going in right here into this corner of the shop. And then my blueprint that I've drawn up for this basically has most of my plumbing accessible on this end and off of this corner, and then the panel for the electric will be off of the other corner. So not a lot of trench to have to dig for this. And then I'll get all my plumbing laid out in here like it needs to go. We'll have to trench just a little bit in here to lay it underneath the slab, because this should be cut just nearly level. I may have a little bit of fine dressing I got to do on it here and there, but it should be pretty close. Yeah, I like it simple, simple, simple. Is it done yet? Well, I made my run and I went and got a great big pile of lumber, as you can kind of see here in the back. But I have a hard time driving by now and not stopping and getting a snow cone. And I made the mistake of telling Miss Angela that I stopped and got a snow cone without her, so I just thought I'd rub it in that I got a snow cone. And now she's mad at me. But I gotta get this lumber home and get this stuff unloaded. Alright, I have made it back with this monstrosity of a pile. This should be enough for covering basically the exoskeleton of the pole barn itself. This will be for all my lads on my roof and all my girders and my headers and all that. I've got the 2x12s up in here and a bunch of 2x, and yeah, should be enough to do the outside of the building, and then I can skin it out after that, and then I'll reframe on the inside for insulation and all that kind of good stuff. But it's late, and I've got to finish my chores, and I've got to get in here and get dinner going for Miss Angela before she gets home, and I've got to get this video edited so that I can get it uploaded. And yeah, it was a productive day. I spent quite a bit of time. I grabbed my laser while I was out. I've got it ready so that I can get some shots on this ground tomorrow to figure out where it's at. I got everything handled that I needed for the Mini X. Yeah, busy day. I got a lot taken care of, got a lot handled, and a lot put in place that's going to be in motion for the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be busy, busy, busy. And I don't know any other way. That's just kind of how we roll. But y'all have a blessed day, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.